So we are looking at this extraordinary piece by French post-impressionist artist Paul Gauguin named Mahana no Atua, or The Day of the God. In this oil canvas, Gauguin resorts to the use of thin and supple brushstrokes to give the work a more delicate appearance. Likewise, most of the figures and elements within the picture plane help to establish this appearance of a smooth surface with barely visible strokes. Although the rhythm seems to be constant in later shots, it changes with the figures that are superimposed in the foreground. However, this change in rhythm of the painting is counteracted by the symmetrical distribution of the elements and figures in space. The incorporation of the sky and the topography in the distance also helps to establish this illusion that this is a three-dimensional space. The painting in the middle stands out from the others as she is positioned right in the center of the composition and in front of the statue of the presumed Tahitian god. In Mahana no Atua, Gauguin decides for a palette of warm colors to precisely exalt that vivacity and visual richness with which Gauguin looked at this place. In this foreground, the artist resorts to luminous colors with some saturated tonalities, while in the rest of the image he opts for more neutral colors that are more faithful to reality. In this painting, Gauguin wants to reflect the narrative of the three stages of life and how they interact with each other. The three bathers in the foreground then fulfill precisely the objective of personifying the respective moments of birth, life, and death. The first bather appears in a fetal position with her feet slightly submerged in the water of life. This representation makes us think of her at the first phase of life, which one does not know the strange world one has to enter. In this order of ideas, the bather in the center symbolizes the stage of life in the cycle that man has on earth. The figure lying on the right side, with her body completely distant from the source of life, then personifies death. With this image, Gauguin wants to show the loneliness that man eventually experiences during his last minutes of life. The title is also very telling insofar it reiterates the role in this case of the goddess Haina within the cycle narration of man's life. Throughout the incorporation of this figure within the pictorial plane, we can observe the strong religious component of the Tahitian community that Gauguin wanted to highlight on this occasion. On one hand, it is very complex to study Gauguin's paintings, especially those dealing with explicit representation of women and girls half naked. It is not so much that he decided to depict a nude, but the way he approaches the subject matter, the obvious sexualization of his lovers, for example, is something that has triggered the call of the critics. His paintings are problematic in the sense that many of his works are accompanied by diaries that give an account of this highly criticized relationship between Gauguin himself and his models. The fact that he did not ask for the permission to portray them in the way that he did is highly reprehensible. But then again, have those women who have been depicted nude throughout the tradition of art history ever been asked for their permission? The answer is no. The reason why it is so complex to look at Gauguin's work without finding an objection is because of the repetitive sadistic and sexual behavior of Gauguin that is seen especially in his works on Tahiti. Although he is inscribed within a context of colonial expeditions of Europe against its overseas territories, this does not justify this very sexual and fantasy approach that he had towards issues of gender, race, and primitivism. With this in mind, museums should present Gauguin's work to the public as they are, without any distortions of power discourses, without masks. As institutions, museums should be able to complexify and expose the problematics inherent in Gauguin's work. Although one must respect the recent debates that have arisen in terms of ideas of gender and sexualization of women around the world, that for their part seek the prohibition of these paintings in places of entertainment such as museums, this should not be the reason why one should hide the two sexist proposals that Gauguin had. I believe that museums should work to present history in a neutral way, always showing respect for the artist and his pictorial work, as well as for the people who may be offended by such representations.